Welcome back, everybody. Tonight we are doing something a little different, and we are going to do a prospect mock draft, which is a little uncommon, but as usual, welcome to the Jocks of all trades.
Jocks of all trades. Jocks of all trades.
All right, Kyle, would you like to explain what a prospect mock draft is?
Yeah, so I found this from Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, so I'll have to give them a shout out. I don't think they need the shout out nor the help, but we did steal this from them. So basically, Brad and I are going to go back and forth. We have to choose an 11-man offense and 11-man defense. We have to choose one quarterback, one running back, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center. And then for defense, we'll have to choose. It's going to be like a 4-2-5. So we'll choose 2 D tackles, 2 defensive ends, 2 linebackers, 3 corners, and 2 safeties. Also, we're taking Nolan Smith out of the equation because I'm not really sure if he fits as a 4-3 defensive end, and I don't think he fits as a 4-3 linebacker. So we'll just take him out for right now. But Brad and I are going to go back and forth. He'll choose a guy on offense, and I will choose a guy on offense. But we cannot pick the same player. Once Brad picks someone, that player is removed from the pool, and we will go on back and forth till we hit 11 people. Then we'll give you our starting 11 for offense, and we'll go to defense and do it the same way. So
I will be updating this as we go with players, so it might take me a minute to show you what we're doing. But we're doing something different from Move the Sticks because we're not just going to outright steal. They didn't do visuals. We do because you know how Jocks of all trades rolls, and Brad likes to make things. So, Kyle, let's go ahead and hit this off. We flipped a coin earlier. I have offense first. I get the first pick, and then Kyle will get the first pick for defense. So with that being said, I feel like this is hard, but I know where I want to go with this. I'm gonna go Bijan. I'm gonna go Bijan Robinson first overall.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead. So we got 1 and 2, and then I put in Bijan. Okay. Kyle, you're up.
That's a good pick. That's definitely who I would have selected if I had the first pick. I think I can wait on quarterback and all that. I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. I think he's a clear cut, the best receiver in this draft, no questions. And I posted it on our group chat, but the Senior Bowl, his name is escaping me now. I'm sorry, but he said from talking to teams, there's only 1, maybe 2 receivers being talked about in the first round. And JSN is the highest of them all. So I think he can have a Chris Olave type of year for wherever he goes to. So I'm going to go Jackson Smith-Njigba. It's a long-winded answer, but that's my first pick.
I like it. I could go receiver again, but I feel like I'm going to take – I don't have to take this position, but I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. Dude is a receiving threat up and down the field. And I have him just slightly above Michael Mayer. I like Michael Mayer, but he's slow. I think the difference between Mayer and Kincaid can get himself open a lot easier than Mayer can. So I'm going to roll with Dalton Kincaid here and then probably question my choices later.
Yeah, man, I like that pick too. I think our first 3 guys that we chose so far are clear cut the best at their position. So that kind of makes sense. I'm also going to go clear best at his position, I think, as well. And that's Peter Skoronski. And tackle or guard, honestly, I think he could have a Hall of Fame type of career at guard just because he's so technically sound. But even at tackle as well, I think he's interchangeable. I think he probably could eventually play all 5 spots on the offensive line. So just, if one of my guys don't work out, I can probably stick Skoronski there and he could figure it out. He's technically sound. He's physical. He's smart. He's tough. I know he has the shorter arms. And we've talked about that, but just all around, I think he has a really good game, and he's one of the safest offensive linemen in this draft.
Thank you for taking Skoronski. I think that opens the door for me here for my pick. And I'm going to go ahead and take Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. He moves like a tight end, but he's built like a. That's a scary combination. I think that you can't really go wrong with shoring up the tackle position first, protecting your quarterback. I like Skoronski. I think it's good. It's really just a toss up as to what flavor of tackle you like between Skoronski and Paris Johnson, because Skoronski is kind of like that. He reminds me of like Jason Kelsey a little bit, where he's just that big squat guy that's just going to sit there and beat you on the block, versus the athletic guy in Paris Johnson, who's just going to move all over the field and keep people off you the whole time. But they're both solid. I like both picks. I feel like I personally just like Paris Johnson a little bit more because of his athleticism.
Yeah, Paris Johnson's probably more of a eventual true tackle than Skoronski. And Paris did play guard in college too, but I don't think he's like long term going to be a great guard. But I think long term potentially he could be a very good tackle. My third pick here, I'm going to go Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I just talked about the receivers, how there's not going to be probably that many in the first round. I think Zay Flowers is the other guy. Quentin Johnson wasn't even invited to the NFL draft, by the way, because they were afraid it'd be embarrassing for him because he might not get picked. But Zay Flowers and JSN are definitely going to get picked both in the first round. And in terms of a speed threat, I mean, I know you got Dalen Hyatt over there, maybe, but I think Zay Flowers even more is just more of that all-around, every kind of route speed threat that I think like a Tyreek Hill. No, I'm not comparing him to Tyreek Hill, but I think he can do more than just run down the field. Jason Kelsey doesn't squat. He squats a little bit. But yeah, I think Zay Flowers can do it all. And if I have Jackson Smith-Njigba in the slot and Zay Flowers as my X or even Y receiver, and I think that's a nasty duo. So
sorry, they're right behind each other. I had a really hard time squeezing everything into the right spot, but I think people get what we're going at. I think it'll be okay. If you're gonna take Zay Flowers, I don't want to take a receiver yet. Ooh, I know what I want to do. Okay, I've got Bijan, which means we're gonna go with a run first offense, which means I'm going to take O'Cyrus Torrence, the big old boy out of Florida. Let me click him on here, and then I'll explain why. O'Cyrus Torrence is just an immovable force. And I think him and Paris Johnson together just kind of locks that whole line in. You could throw a turd burglar in there, and it wouldn't matter because you got two big old anchors on that line to shore up stuff for Bijan Robinson. I like O'Cyrus Torrence. I don't know if NFL teams are going to feel the same way about him because he's big and that's kind of his best quality. Yeah. So IDK, but I'm gonna go with O'Cyrus Torrence.
Next, I'm going to go with Broderick Jones out of Georgia. I think he could also play tackle or guard. I think he's one of the most athletic linemen in this draft. There are rumors he could be one of the first tackles taken over Paris Johnson. And he's still young, too. He's a lot of room to grow. He's incredibly athletic. He's strong. He has the right build for it. Brad building that wall for Bijan. Yeah, I mean, I like it, too. But I think having Broderick Jones on the opposite side of Skoronski, and again, like movable pieces, I think both Skoronski and Broderick Jones are movable pieces, and you can figure out where they can play the best. Yeah, I think I have, one future Hall of Fame guard potentially and a tackle that you can move around. And I think both guys can move in space very, very well. I think that's a little bit of the difference right now between my two guys and your two guys. Paris Johnson can definitely do that. I'm not sure if O'Cyrus can do that, but either way. Yeah, Broderick Jones at number 4.
I like it. I'm going to take that guy that may not make it into the first round, but because I need a big guy on the outside to catch balls, I'm going to put Quentin Johnston there. You've taken two of the best receivers off the board. I kind of need to get on that. So we're going to go ahead and throw Quentin Johnston as my wide receiver 1, which is okay because we're going to make Bijan the workhorse in this offense anyways. So passing, just run a slant, Quentin Johnston, and we'll be fine.
Let's see. Number 5. Yeah, I'm gonna go Darnell Wright here. I think he's the best left on the board. And again, he's the kind of guy that I've seen mocked mid first round, possibly to the Bills at whatever pick they are in the mid 20s. He had a little bit of weird things on Twitter going on. He was smack talking people for calling him kind of maybe not worthy of a first round pick. However, he was in the SEC, and you and I both know, Brad, that even though I'm a Big Ten guy, I'm a Penn State guy. Tennessee faces a lot of good, freakishly athletic defensive linemen, edge rushers, and he held his own. He really held his own. Has a lot of starts under his belt. So yeah, Darnell Wright at tackle or guard, whatever. I really love my first 3 linemen here. I think I have Skoronski and Darnell Wright, who are just plug and play guys, and then Broderick Jones, who's maybe a little bit needs to develop a little bit, but has the athleticism to do a lot of things for your offense.
I like where you went. I'm disappointed that Wright didn't fall to me here at this next pick, but I have a thought. Speaking of Twitter warriors, we've been hearing a lot of news about some of these late round first round guys, which could honestly go day 2, but sometimes they go day 1 because you got to pick somebody, you know? And one of those guys, they're talking about this beefcake out of Minnesota. John Michael Schmitz, the center, is who I'm going to take. I already put him in there while you were talking. He just does a lot of things well. Speaking of players that could go to the Bills, they need a center badly. So I think one of those, either Darnell Wright or John Michael Schmitz, could go there. Schmitz just is really good in the run game, needs some help in pass blocking, creates a whole lot of space in the Big Ten, which I'll do the flip side. I'm an SEC and an Alabama kid, but we always got to play against the Big Ten, and the Big Ten puts out some really good guys. And especially if you're going to come out of Minnesota and be talked about in day 1, you're doing something right. So I like John Michael Schmitz. I like him better than Luke Weipler. Weipler's okay, but I think Schmitz just does more for you in terms of protecting the quarterback and getting the ball where it needs to be. So, yeah, I'm not going to take Weipler here. I'm going to take Schmitz.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmitz.
Schmitz.
His name is my name too. Now, number 6, I'm going to take the best receiver on the board, and that'll fill out my receivers. That's going to be Jordan Addison. He's not as explosive as the other guys that I have. However, I think he's probably next to Tank Dell. He's the best route runner in this draft. He didn't run as fast as I wanted him to run, but in terms of getting open, separating from the corners, using his quickness at the line of scrimmage, him and Jackson Smith-Njigba on the same team, I think I have Zay Flowers to go deep, and those guys, dude, just run your routes, and one of you will probably get open. So I really like that. I like the quick game too with my receivers now. I think Addison and Jackson Smith-Njigba both can get off the line quick and get open. So yeah, I'm going to go Jordan Addison at number 6 here.
I like what you're doing, but I think I can do what you're doing on a budget. So I'm going to wait, and I'm going to take another offensive lineman. I'm going to take Anton Harrison. He's a tackle, but he has been kind of shifty to play in different places. Again, could kind of go wherever. I like him here because, I did need another tackle. Sorry, my bad. So I'll just stick him at the tackle spot. At this point, I could really wait to fill out the rest of my line. If this doesn't get you moving and this line doesn't get you excited for Bijan Robinson, I don't know what to tell you. But this should keep anybody upright back there. I need some pass catchers, Kyle. I'm running a little skinny here on pass catchers.
Yeah, you are. Well, you got Bijan from me and Kincaid, so I think I had to steal some I had to have an advantage somewhere.
That's true.
Number 7, I'm gonna go Steve Avila, the guard out of TCU. Um,
Okay.
I think him, and if you want to put Skronsky in that category and Osiris
There you
in
go.
that category as well. I think I have 2 out of the best 3 guards in this draft, and Avila and Torrance from our good friend Daniel Jeremiah, who we kind of copied this from. He has Avila and Osiris Torrance basically on the same level. They're very different kinds of players. Now, I love what Torrance can do in the right offense for sure. I think Steve Avila allows you to be a little bit more movable in the run game. Maybe you can go on some sweeps. Maybe you can go on some tosses, get your line moving. And I think with Avila, I think with Broderick Jones and Skoronsky, I think all those guys can move and be athletic enough to get on the outside of the field and block. I don't think Darnell Wright is that type of guy, but we'll just not go that way. We'll go the other way. So, yeah, I like what we have in Steve Avila and my other guard there. Yeah.
So I said I need pass catchers. I'm gonna go with what I think is the best pass catcher, not whatever I was about to say. I don't even know. Jalen Hyatt probably is one of the most interesting prospects in this draft in terms of where he could land. He could go first round. He could go very early day 2. He could drop to middle of day 2. There's a lot of places he could land. Some people like his teammate Cedric Tillman better. Like there's just so much weird stuff going around Jalen Hyatt, but I think he deserves to go day 1. I really do. And that would give me a speed threat. Let Quentin Johnston be the big boy that just kind of outmuscles people for the ball, similar to Mike Evans. And then I'll just take a speed threat and Jalen Hyatt. I just those 1-year wonders, guys. Do they always make you nervous when the draft comes around?
Yep.
Yeah, me too. And I've got 2 of them in my receiver position. Lovely. All right, Kyle, you are up next.
Since you stole Kincaid from me, who I desperately wanted, I'll just go the other tight end here with Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a consolation prize. I think teams view them differently for sure. I think probably more teams like Kincaid, but I think there are a number of them that would rather have Michael Mayer. And like I talked about, I mean, I love how athletic my offensive line is. Michael Mayer is another offensive lineman on that line if he's not catching passes. So, and we don't really need him to catch passes because we have 3 really good receivers. So I'll put him as another lineman out there. And he's a very good blocker in the pass game and in the run game. But, in a pinch, if we need him to become a pass catcher, we can definitely do that. So I'm going to take Michael Mayer here at number 8.
Nice. Speaking of those late day 1, early day 2 guys, I'm going to finish out my O-line because I think at this point the quality of receivers is kind of the same. It wouldn't make sense for me to just cherry pick somebody at this point. I'm going to go with Senior Bowl standout Cody Mock, the guy out of North Dakota State, the Toothless Wonder, as he is being referred to in some places on Twitter. Lots of people want him to go to the Bills because he has that funny, just kind of quirky character. But I'll tell you what, he was doing some work at the Senior Bowl. He was making some people look silly. And I don't know what it is about North Dakota State, but the thing that always makes me nervous is it feels like they're very boom or bust players. Like they develop really good talent, but either it lasts for a while and then drops off significantly. In the case of Trey Lance, we're still out on that one because he hasn't really had a chance yet. For those of you that hate Trey Lance, save your hate. He may be out of San Francisco, but I don't think he's done yet in the league. But Cody Mock could be one of those interesting guys that could end up being better than some of those day 1 guys just because he put on a show in the Senior Bowl. I wanted to find a way to clip a video in this, but I can't handle that and putting on players at the same time. So go look up Cody Mock. You'll understand why I have him here. He's a sexy little devil. All right, Kyle, it's up to you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think Cody Mock definitely has some upside there. And you're right, North Dakota State has some boom or bust to it. It just depends where he goes, ultimately in the draft. I think he can develop into a good player. Obviously, we've seen the quarterbacks not really pan out. Christian Watson jury's out on him, but he had a pretty good rookie year. So we'll see what happens with Cody, but I think he has potential to be a good player. I'm just going to take the last center here because that's my last lineman that I need. It's Joe Tippmann out of Wisconsin. I think he probably could play guard as well, but I think his home is here at center. Wisconsin has, they've given out some really good offensive linemen just in the history of their program. They know how to put guys into the NFL. I think the last one was Tyler Biotish, and I'm pretty sure Travis Frederick went there too. Someone will have to fact check me on that, but and they always produce good offensive linemen. They really do. Ryan Ramczyk, pretty sure he went there as well. So I like having a Wisconsin offensive lineman on my team, no doubt. And I already have another Big Ten guy with Skoronski. So I got SEC guys and I got Big Ten guys on my offensive line, 4 out of the 5. So I'm liking what I'm putting out.
I already made my pick. You know I'm going to do it to you. I got to take the best thing left for my roster. I'm going to take Bryce Young. That leaves you with, I already made an assumption. So if it is what I think it is, I'm going to hit next. If it's not, we'll see what you have to say.
No, it is. It is CJ for sure. It's all about the flavor that you want. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these guys. Bryce provides you more playmaking ability. I think CJ provides you with a little bit more of precision. It just depends what you want. A little bit more height to that position as well. But yeah, I think with your offense, that makes a lot of sense, especially with Bijan in the backfield and with your, I think, lesser receivers. But I think Bryce has the ability to do a little bit more playmaking wise. So that makes sense. And then CJ with my guys, I think he can stand upright in the pocket with my offensive line that's in front of him and pick apart guys with these receivers. So I think that makes sense on both levels there.
And I already know what I want my last pick to be. I need another receiver. I'm going to go Josh Downs. He is incredibly speedy. He was originally talked about as a day one prospect. He could sneak into the back half of the first round, but I think he'll be in the very early parts of the second. He's not like some of the North Carolina receivers that have come before him. He actually has a little pizzazz behind him. And I think he'll do well in the right offense. I think if you sling him on the Commanders, nothing's going to happen to him. But if you put him somewhere like New York, where Daniel Jones actively wants to get the ball out, or you put him with the Buccaneers, if they can figure out their quarterback situation, they may take one this year. They like to sling the ball a lot, but I don't think he'll survive in a pass meh situation. But for me, having Bryce and Bijan, it doesn't really need to be the focal point of our offense. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So Josh Downs kind of fits here for me. Kyle, you have the last pick for offense.
Yeah, I'll go with Jahmyr Gibbs then. Because again, you stole Bijan from me. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely a good consolation prize. He'll probably go end of the first round, maybe early the second round. He's definitely not as tough as a runner as Bijan is, but I don't need him to be that. I just need him to get out in the open field and catch passes as well. And like I said earlier, I mean, we have a lot of offensive linemen, with Avila who can move, Skoronski who can move, Project Jones who can move, Tippmann can move, and getting Gibbs out on the, edge of the field, getting him in some space, I think makes a lot of sense. And, you could probably even stick him as a slot receiver. I think we have a lot of guys now on this team that can really just get open and win against linebackers and against smaller corners. So your run game definitely is above mine, for sure.
Don't grade yet. Don't grade yet. We'll grade at the end. Let's hear from our sponsors, and then we will jump into defense where Kyle will go first. Fresh Cuts is our amazing sponsor who has been with us since 2020. Fresh Cuts is the local barbershop hangout in Marion, Indiana. If you're looking for a full-service barber with excellent cuts and a welcoming atmosphere, contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment time through www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. Mondays are the best days to get in, although he has plenty of time slots available. And if you happen to miss us live, you'll be hearing us in the shop while you enjoy your fresh cut. Slide on by to Fresh Cuts to pick up some stylish footwear with Caleb's Fresh Kicks collection. From Nike to Jordans, he offers the best price for quality kicks. And if you don't find what you like, Caleb offers custom work for $250. Stop over to 1224 North Baldwin Ave in Marion to pick up yours today, or Caleb also ships all over the U.S. Message him for prices and sizes. Our other people we sponsor, Steve Wood Illustrations and Ronald Morell for Mayor, check out their respective pages on Facebook. And our other friends at other podcasts, the Culture Corner podcast, 1,000 Wives of Weird, and Rules of the Frame. Check them out on their respective platforms listed below. All right.
All right. We are back, and I have the first pick here. Again, this is a 4-2-5. This is probably one of the most commonly used formations in the NFL. We know the NFL likes to throw the ball, so having three corners out there makes a lot of sense for us to choose that way. So I'm going to go probably best overall, most talented player in the draft. That's Jalen Carter, D-tackle out of Georgia. I mean, you know, the off-field stuff aside, there's not many people that can rush the passer from the inside. He's one of the guys that can do that. I think before this off-field stuff, there was no doubt he would have gone top 3. And I still think he has that ability. He just needs to figure out, you know, some inside, some mental stuff, and I think he'll be all right. So, but what he can do on the football field, man, he gets in the backfield like crazy. He whips guards. He overpowers centers. He's quicker than tackles. You know, he can really do it all from the inside position. So, yeah, I'm definitely going Jalen Carter here.
All right. Well, since we're picking leaders on our defenses, I'm going to go ahead and take Will Anderson since you took Jalen Carter. I feel like these guys are kind of interchangeable about who could be the best defender in this draft. It just depends on what your defense needs more than anything. I think they both have the capability of being elite leaders and defenders. But just the way that it shakes out, I will take Will Anderson, which puts you back on the clock.
Yeah, it's tough for sure. I think I'm going to wait on corner here and go. You got to start at the line of scrimmage, man. You got to do that, get that in order. And I'll go Tyree Wilson here, defensive end. Just an absolute physical freak on the edge. Can stop the run, and stop the pass. Get in the backfield on his pass rush as well. He probably needs to work a little bit on his repertoire, but Tyree Wilson is being talked about as a top 5 pick. So if I can get Jalen Carter and Tyree Wilson here on the D-line, I'm definitely happy with that.
I feel the opposite way. I feel like the D-line is a lot more deep in this class than the corners and safeties. With that being said, I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez. I'm going to go ahead and get that lockdown guy as my corner 1. It's a pass-heavy league. I think you have to have a really good secondary or you're going to get torched, so I'm going to go Gonzalez.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely need a good secondary. That's why I'll go with Brian Branch here at safety. He can also play nickel corner as well in a pinch. And he can probably spread on any kind of receiver in the slot or even outside. He had very good coverage grades. And he also, I believe, in the last 5 or 6 NFL drafts, he's had the lowest percentage of missed tackles out of any linebacker, defensive end, safety. That's how good he is at tackling. You're not gonna get beyond him. So yeah, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson on the D line, and Brian Branch maybe near the line of scrimmage sometimes. I like my chances with Brian Branch in coverage and tackling. So yeah.
How dare you? That was my next pick. In that case, I'm going to stick with secondary also, but I'm just going to skip safety because I feel like it's kind of Branch and everybody else.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and take Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. I'm going to go ahead and get that second lockdown corner for myself. And then at that point, I mean, these guys can kind of go all over the field. They're 2 of the most athletic guys out of 3. I could take the third one. I feel like you're going to take the third one in a minute, but I got to work on some other stuff. So you are up.
I'm going to go Miles Murphy here at defensive end. Similar body type to Tyree Wilson. That's why I'm going to choose him here. Yeah, I've seen a lot of reports that scouts kind of likened him to a Trayvon Walker. Now, Miles Murphy did not work out at the combine, but he worked out on his pro day and had some very, very good numbers for how big he is. Again, his production is not quite where he wanted to be. He got in the backfield a lot in college. He just really couldn't always finish. That's what we need from him to finish. But man, if Tyree Wilson and Jalen Carter can't in the backfield, I think Miles Murphy is in a good spot to finish. And having two similar body types on both sides of my line, it's going to be very hard for people to run on my defensive line so far. So I'm going to go Miles Murphy.
I want to get a lockdown nose tackle. I feel like that's hard to get at this point. But I'm going to go with an athletic tackle or nose tackle. I'm going to go with Brian Bresee here. He had a really good combine. Another guy from Clemson that kind of could show that he could do things. They just weren't as productive as you would have liked. I feel like that whole Clemson squad just had such a bad year that it's making everybody's draft stock look questionable, even though they're very, very talented. I need to work on my line of scrimmage. I'm going to go Brian Bresee. Hopefully he can get in there and kind of move around because he's a little quicker. So is Will Anderson. I think I'm going to go for speed and tackling over power because for the sake of what defense I want to shut down, you have a lot of pass catchers and I need to get out there and shut you down.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to get those two corners versus my receivers for sure. I'm going to continue to stop the run here in Bijan Robinson, and I'll go get Jack Campbell, probably the best linebacker. Again, worked out with Luke Kuechly. Iowa linebacker. I know a lot of people think, Iowa, they're not very athletic. He is, and he's a very good tackler as well. He performed very well at the combine. Not many guys get by him. He's very good at reading and reacting as well. So getting Jack Campbell behind my defensive line, I think, is a solid way to stop the run.
And I like that you brought up Luke Kuechly. He's been getting a lot of that hype as being a Luke Kuechly type of linebacker. And you know why? I think he is. Because the problem with Iowa is never Iowa's defense. It is Iowa's offense. So I would not be as worried about taking Jack Campbell early, even mid in the first round even. I mean, that wouldn't hurt for the Cowboys. It wouldn't hurt for, I'd say, even the Bengals. There's a couple teams that could take him that it would benefit them immediately. And don't sleep on Jack Campbell. That's a very good pick, and now I'm struggling to figure out how I'm going to match you pick for pick here. But I think, once again, I'm going to go speed. I like positionless football. That's kind of like where the NFL is trying to get. Basketball is definitely getting that way. Because of that, I'm going to take Kalijah Kancey out of Pittsburgh to be my D tackle. Look, he's a little undersized, so I don't necessarily want him as a nose tackle. And I already addressed that. But just as a D tackle, even if we switch to a 4-3, I could put him, Will Anderson, and whoever is going to be on the other side there as my 3. Take Bresee out. Bresee is not as quick. Put 3 quick guys in the middle, or a 3-4. I don't know. I'm talking crap over here. Whatever. But you know what I'm trying to say. Get those 3 guys in the middle. Kind of hope that they can move around enough to get out in the flats if something gets passed. Shut down the pass game to the running back if it goes out to the sides. Just to have something more flexible. And I think Kalijah Kancey could really be that X factor for somebody. Yeah. Granted, he's not going to be Aaron Donald. I know he's got the Aaron Donald comp, but he's still pretty good. I like him. And I think he'd be a decent D tackle for my fast defense. Sorry.
Yeah, I like that pick. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Kancey. There haven't been too many guys that have his short of arms that have competed, for a while in the NFL. It's hard to find those guys that can stick around. However, everything else he's very, very good at. So I like what you're doing, trying to stop my offense here, getting some quick pass rushers, getting some corners as well. That's nice. Let's see. Number 6 here. I think I'm gonna go Mozzie Smith. And yeah, I think stopping the run is my priority here, right? Stopping Bijan Robinson. So Mozzie Smith, we know about his production as a pass rusher. Again, in the backfield a lot, but only had like half a sack to his name. However, my man's like 6'4", 6'3", like 320. He could probably get up to 330. He was number 1 on Bruce Feldman's freak list. If you want anybody as a run stuffer, it's probably Mozzie Smith. So I think Mozzie Smith next to Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter can rush the passer. Mozzie Smith can stuff the run. I love that combo there. Yeah, Mozzie Smith at number 6 here.
Let's talk about that for a second. Oh, I'm in the way. Dang it. I was going to show how big he was and stuff, but he's just an elite defender, and I like him. I think he's insanely dangerous. Such a good pick for your defense. I just knew that we had the slides, and I wanted to pull up his information, but I'm covering it, so that was pointless. Thank you for hanging out for random times with Dad Brain. So Mozzie Smith, let me see what's on the board here. I need a linebacker. Oh, it's not necessarily a consolation prize, just a different type of linebacker. I'm gonna take Drew Sanders because Alabama it bleeds through apparently. Even though he went to Arkansas for his last year, you were going to play for us, but you just weren't good enough to get onto our defense. That's okay. We still like you, Drew Sanders. But he's very rangy. Again, another fast guy that I'm trying to get, processes really well. Maybe not on the same level as Jack Campbell, but I think he's a nice little threat to have in the middle. I'm not sure that I would put him as an outside linebacker. He's more kind of a middle linebacker in terms of what his play style and the defenses he's played with. But it does give me a threat to stop you up the middle and somebody rangy to get around. I'm going to stick with Drew Sanders and hope for the best.
Yeah, good blitzer too. That's good for your defense. Number 7, I'm going to go my first corner here. It's Joey Porter Jr. Again, our job is just going to be stop the run first. And I think Joey Porter is, obviously the longest and one of the biggest corners we have here. But also he's able to press the line of scrimmage and probably shut down Quentin Johnson. So I think he can kind of do that as well. So you just kind of going along the lines of stopping that run, getting a big physical corner out there on the outside in case Bijan wants to bounce it. I think Joey Porter Jr. That's my pick at 7.
I like it. You know what? I'm going to double dip at linebacker here. I'm going to go with a guy that's kind of talked about a little bit, and my mouse stopped working. Give me 1 second. There we go. Yeah, it's not working. Okay. I'm going to take Dion Henley. He started as a receiver in college, switched to linebacker. He's very quick. Talking about early day 2 kind of guy that needs to go. Could sneak in at like pick 30, 31, could go way later. Who knows? But I like him just because he has that rare blend of, oh my gosh, this guy's coming at me. And what do you do? And I like those guys where you're just kind of terrified to get hit by them. He's like Jack Campbell light in terms of how he processes. He processes really, really well, probably better than Drew Sanders. Sanders is really there just to be an athlete. Henley is there to dissect the offense and figure out where's the ball going. I think they would play really well in tandem. There's no way they're going to end up on the same team. But in terms of what we're doing, I think they'd work really well together.
Yeah, and Henley's very good in coverage too, like you said, former receiver. So I think, that's a good matchup for Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 8, I'm going to go Trenton Simpson here. I think a lot of people view as one of maybe the second best linebacker in this class. He varies a lot just because we're not really sure where to put him. Like we know Campbell's going to be a middle linebacker, right? We know Sanders is going to be a linebacker, probably coming off the edge a lot. We know Henley's probably going to be a little bit smaller of a middle linebacker, being able to cover. But Trenton Simpson, I think, is the most. I don't think he is the most athletic linebacker we have in the draft. However, it's just where do we stick him? I think he's a guy that could play safety as well, but just having a rangy, physical, athletic linebacker next to Jack Campbell, who kind of suffers. I mean, not suffers, but he's not the most athletic linebacker, right? So I think you need someone next to him that is kind of a little bit of a bump up on athleticism and a guy that can run around, maybe stop a tight end or maybe run down a Bijan, just someone who can catch up to these faster receivers. I think Trent Simpson's my guy at number 8.
I love that we both picked linebackers that complement our middle linebackers that we picked in different ways. Just because I know that's how we both operate in Madden, NCAA, real life. It's how it should be. Not always how it is, but how it should be. If you got a weakness, you cover it somewhere else. Curse you NFL GMs for being so stupid. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pick my nickel guy. I'm going to throw a shocker here, and I'm not going to go where people think I'm going to go with corner. I'm actually going to go with Emmanuel Forbes, the guy out of Mississippi State. And the reason why, dude had 16 interceptions in the SEC.
Wow.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That is insanely tough, especially being an undersized guy. I just think I've said this a billion times. I'm going to keep saying it. I think he reads really well. I think he plays coverage really, really well. He could play that little nickel in between spot. And I think if something were to happen, you could switch Gonzalez and him out. You could switch Witherspoon and him out. And I think you still get the same level of production. So really, I just pick somebody to replace one of my guys should they go down against one of your receivers.
Yeah, it's a solid pick. I'm going to go Sidney Brown here at safety.
Illinois.
I think a guy, too, that could sneak in top of the second round. Like you said, the safety class is not deep. It's not. And I would say it's Brian Branch, then the rest, Sidney Brown you could throw in there for sure. But in terms of his coverage ability, he has very good coverage ability. Now he throws his body around a lot. He's not always the most sure tackler. We know that. But in terms of coverage and his speed and his physicality, his athleticism, he has all that. And we really need that on our defense with a Dalton Kincaid over the middle and a Bijan as well, and a physical guy like Quentin Johnson. So I just need more physical, fast guys that can do a little bit of both, cover, but also, give you some hard hits as well and compete. So Sidney Brown is my number 9 pick.
I've really been holding off, and now it's time to pick my safeties. I'm going to go with another Brown. I'm going to go with Jair Brown out of Penn State. That should make you excited. Dude's a hard hitter. I feel like he's just a really good tackler more than he's a good playmaker, which is okay. That's perfect. If you get past my plethora of cornerbacks, I need somebody I know is going to take you down. And I like him. I think he's getting the appropriate amount of love that he should. He should be a day 2 guy. Yeah. If he's not, I'm going to be really shocked. But Jair Brown, I think I'm going to put it free safety. Yeah. Because, again, he can just kind of get all over the field. For sure. And I think that's kind of the best options that I have at safety right now. So that's what I'm going to do. Kyle, how are you going to finish off your roster?
I'm going to go Cam Smith here at corner. I'm just not the biggest believer in Deonte Banks, honestly. I mean, his athleticism is off the charts for sure, but I think Cam Smith has shown more of what he can do in that conference. And again, a physical guy as well. I would say very similar body type to Joey Porter Jr., which is what we need. I need 2 guys on the outside that are big, that are tough, that are physical. That, if you don't want to run on my front 6, my front 7, try to run on the outside. I think I have 2 receivers that will battle and compete and try to tackle Bijan. So, and again, very long, instinctive corner, plays the ball well. Not the most production on the ball, but a guy that can press you as well. So I'm going to go Cam Smith here.
I like it. I got to pick another safety. I'm going to go with the other guy from Alabama. I'm going to go with Jordan Battle. speaking of good tacklers, this guy's kind of a monster. Some people liked him better than Brian Branch, which I think is insane. You need to watch the tape. I know Jordan Battle came up clutch many, many times, but Branch is still the better safety. Battle will get some love. He'll probably be a day 3 guy because there's a lot of safeties that'll go day 2. Not everybody needs a safety, but I think he'll be a special guy for whoever takes him. Again, another power guy, plays well in space. I'd say he's more of a playmaker than a tackler, which is fine because I have a tackler in the back to handle stuff that's going to be all over the place. So that leaves us with one more pick each for defense. How are you going to round out your defense?
I'm going to go with the guy that had the fastest 40 in the draft. That's DJ Turner, nickel out of Michigan. Listen, with these receivers that you got, I don't think they are great route runners, but they're fast. They're very, very fast. And I need a nickel corner who has the ability to stop one of those guys. I think DJ Turner can match up speed with all 3 of the guys that you have. Productive, physical, fast, you name it. I think he has a lot of upside as well. So we have 2 physical corners on the outside and a very quick, fast corner on the inside that can provide a lot of different coverage abilities. So I'm going to go DJ Turner at number 11.
I knew my pick was going to fall to me. I knew he was going to be there. I knew exactly what I was going to do when we started this podcast, Kyle. Anyone that's been following us over the past month and a half or so knows that I'm absolutely in love with this guy, that I want to go to the Ravens. He had the best 40 time for defensive ends in this draft, and it is simply Adetomiwa Adebaware, the guy out of Northwestern. He's quick. I need to be quick to shut down your defense or your offense. And honestly, he just has a lot of those physical traits that you want to have. Is he going to be like a Will Anderson? No, but he'll be a good rotational piece. And I think that's all I need for my defense, is just to be able to rotate and be constantly on top of somebody. And being the fastest guy, I mean, you can't beat that, like 250 some odd pounds. Bryce, very even teams. Your defenses play very well against each other's offenses. I hope so, because we're going to grade here in a minute. Results. Let's go through our results quick. I have them written down. So Team Brad is Bijan Robinson, Dalton Kincaid, Paris Johnson Jr., Osiris Torrance, Quentin Johnston, John Michael Schmitz, Anton Harrison, Jalen Hyatt, Cody Mock, Bryce Young, and Josh Downs. And my defense is Will Anderson Jr., Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, Brian Brisset, Kalijah Cansey, Drew Sanders, Dayon Henley, Emmanuel Forbes, Jair Brown, Jordan Battle, and Adetomiwa Adebaware. Then we have Team Kyle.
And I have TJ Stroud at quarterback, Jameer at running back, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba at receiver. Tight ends, Michael Mayer. I have Skoronski and Steve Avila at guard. I have Darnell Wright and Broderick Jones at tackle, and Joe Tippmann at center. As for my defense, I have Miles Murphy, and I have Tyree Wilson at defensive end. I have Jalen Carter and Mozzie Smith at D tackle. I have Joey Porter Jr. and Kim Smith on the outside at corner, DJ Turner at nickel. I have Jack Campbell at middle linebacker, and I have Trenton Simpson at outside linebacker. Then my safeties, I have Sidney Brown and Brian Branch at safety. I think overall, Brad, 3 of my first 5 picks on offense were offensive line, and 3 of my first 4 picks on defense were defensive line. I think that's kind of where I went heavy. That's the way the Eagles build, and that's the way that I built apparently as well.
Looking at my first couple ones, I just went playmakers. I just wanted some guys that were going to bring some star power. And then I tried to fill out everything else with what was left. That's pretty much every NFL GM. They take whatever's sexy, and then this guy will play on the field. He'll be fine. But that brings us down to who won, Kyle.
Man,
You or me or you. Somebody's got to win.
I think here's what I think before I say my final thing. I think you built your team by playmakers, and then I built my team by inside out, kind of offensive line, defensive line. Not saying that yours is worse by any means, but I think that's kind of where we went. I went with the strengths of the lines kind of before I went playmaker necessarily, and you went more playmaker than strength of the offensive line. And that's two different ways to build a team. Honestly, it is. I mean, we've seen teams be successful. I think either way. Um, I think you got me on offense. I do. I think Bijan, Kincaid, and Paris Johnson are three excellent picks. Then Bryce Young at quarterback, obviously too. But I do think I have you on defense, though. I think my front six, and then Brian Branch is my kind of front seven/safety. I think that's hard to beat.
Well, then in that case, I will go ahead and switch us out here. For the winners, both of us, technically. But that's entirely up to you, our viewer. How did we do? Comment and let us know. You can find us on these places. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram. I've been really bad at Instagram recently, so there's probably nothing new, but go follow us anyways, because I'll let you know when shows are coming up. Anyways, that was our prospect mock draft. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We got started a little later than we wanted. But we will see you all next Wednesday for another live mock draft. If you have not signed up to come draft with us, do it now. Kyle, do we have any spots left?
I can always make spots for sure. It is pretty filled out, but we have lots of wiggle room. So if you haven't joined and you want to join, please let us know. Also, we do have some pretty cool nifty hats and shirts on our Facebook page from Redbubble. I just ordered my Jocks of All Trades podcast hat recently for my birthday. I treated myself. Very cool. I like our logo. So if you want some merch, go check it out.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week.